Hello, hello. I hope you're doing well. I just thought I'd shoot a quick video of our presentation that we did post the hackathon, where we built a agentic solution to story point estimation. Really, really great team, and was quite interesting. Basically, a Python, Java, PHP, and C# developer basically came together and in a single day kind of put together a proof of concept, which was fully hosted and accessible and worked live. And I think we were all quite excited by this. We were just solving an issue that we've all experienced within our teams, which is just what I'm going to be taking you through now, right? So how long will it take? The age-old question, right? Every team dreads this question, but every manager needs this answered because this is ultimately what kicks off timeline discussions and, by when can we get it done, etc. And our idea was basically just that StoryFlow could give you fast and intelligent estimations without the usual stress, right? So when we think about this, typically we have a workload that needs to be estimated so that we can start seeing what we can fit where, etc. And so effectively, one of the key problems of solves is estimates tend to be the bane of every dev's day because it takes the focus away from delivery. It takes quite a bit of energy because you're also worried about getting this right and wrong, etc., etc. And to be honest, just needing to come up with that first estimate out of the blue, the first thumb suck is usually can be quite challenging depending on your team. And then, of course, it's quite a nightmare for a product owner or a project manager because you're getting demanded to give timelines and estimates of when a project will be done, when, et cetera, and you're kind of waiting for your team to give you this initial figure just so that you can start having some initial conversations around just like a first approach, et cetera, et cetera. And so beyond that, we've of course also got the bit that it's always subjective. Two developers, maybe both in the same role, won't necessarily think the same of a problem, etc. And so maybe there's a way for us to actually use Agentic to get like consistent predictions by putting it inside a specific context. And so again, just proof of concept, not a final thing, something that we've been kind of thinking of doing. And so what we ended up coming up with was effectively a solution that you can integrate with your ticketing system. So as you can see, I've got Jira, GitLab, and GitHub on here. We've specifically just chose GitHub because it was the one we were most familiar with. And there's a bit of an interplay between GitHub itself and then our application, which ultimately interfaces with various LLMs and AI providers to effectively come up with an initial estimate. So next part I'm just going to walk you through is an actual live demo. And so as you can see, I've got GitHub on here. So you'd typically you'd create a new issue, you'd give the issue its title and its description. And effectively, once you've done that, it triggers a bit of a event, which then tells our application to effectively start the process. And so what you'll see shortly is after we created that ticket on GitHub, it effectively, there it goes, it sees it, it puts it through a bit of a vulnerability scanning to prevent prompt injections and things like that, just check for malicious actors. We basically actually had a team of 2 agents kind of working in synchronicity. So we've got the work breakdown expert, which broke it down into more steps, kind of like fleshes the ticket out. And then ultimately we had the story point estimator, which kind of uses a Fibonacci sequence to arrive at a point estimate. And so as you can see over here, the LLM arrived at about 8 points in terms of complexity with a 65% confidence level. And what you'd expect is it would have come back and actually put that onto the ticket. And as you can see there, it's done that. And so effectively, there you go. You've got that full flow from like briefing it to ultimately getting back to GitHub where the initial story point is. Now, it's very important to say initial because, again, this is an LLM thing. So the team can obviously interface with this. We can make adjustments, etc. But just as a POC, there you go. You can, in theory, pass the relevant data across to a LLM and get some form of a point back. So we're obviously all excited with it, and I think we've got iteration ideas. But had some Q&A. We had quite a few interesting feedbacks. Some pushbacks too, which was good. And I think we've got a few ideas. We had a few more slides here just on the data flow where we just basically shared, how the pieces fit together. And we've also ultimately got a bit of a technical write-up that we did for the thing. It was really great. And I hope you've enjoyed this. I think for us, we quickly threw together something. It was really cool, just forming. None of us have met before that day. And, by the end of the day, we had something to show, and it was really cool. So yeah, thanks so much for your time, and I hope you enjoyed that.